We took an excursion here. The first part was a bus tour showing us the modern city, its beaches, and took us over both bridges that, along with a road over the dunes, link Cadiz to the mainland. The second part was a walking tour of the old town, which is very constrained and full of narrow streets and squares. It was a fascinating place to go.
And now it's almost double the size, and it's still not at its lowest point. So it only has a very wide beach when it is at its lowest point. From here, again, we can see San Sebastian Castle. That is the one with the lighthouse here.
Una cresta larga. Ya que se va el
now known as Popular Water. But this was also called the Sea Gate because it was the only access to the water. We have two more arches, which you cannot see at the moment. One is in this direction, Rose Arch. The other one in this other direction, De los Blancos Arch. No arches this way because there used to be a cliff, so no need of a way in. Now, Popular Quarter has become a little bit of the bohemian quarter of the city. We have nice little taverns where people can come and get tapas. Small portions of food. It doesn't have to be necessarily bread with cold cuts. It could be a small portion of seafood paella or that bluefin tuna fish. But it's something small, and we usually have 2 or 3 tapas, depending on how hungry we are and the size of the portion that is being served. There are different ideas, version of how the concept of tapa originated. But one of the ideas is that maybe it all started here in Cadiz. When Alfonso XIII, King Alfonso XIII, came to visit the city, and of course he went to the best restaurant in town, Ventorrillo El Chato, still open nowadays, and it was a very windy day. So the bartender decided to serve the beverage he requested with a loaf of ham, jamón ibérico, on top of the glass, as a lid, as a tapa, to prevent little dust or mosquitoes or insects to get into the drink. And King Alfonso XIII, he really enjoyed the drink, but he also enjoyed that loaf of ham. And he said, may I have another drink, but I want it again with a lid. I want again a tapa. And then it became a habit to have your little something to eat together with your drink, your tapa. And this is a perfect place where to come and get tapas, but this is also the place where some of the celebrations of one of our 2 main festivals are held. So we have a carnival season that starts pretty early in the year, 2nd or 3rd week of January, so almost no break after Christmas for us. We start with a competition of choirs. People gather in a group. 5 people, 15 people, or even 50 people, all dressed up in the same very funny costume, and they sing in choir in rhymes in a hilarious way, criticizing the society and obviously the politicians. And when the best choirs are proclaimed, it takes about a month and a half, because there are so many groups willing to participate. Then the celebration takes out on these very narrow streets, where people gather to listen or to sing in these choirs for 3 consecutive weekends of pure madness. That is during the month of February or March, depending on the year. This is one of the 2 main festivals. The other one is the Holy Week, Easter time, but we'll talk about that when we get to the Cathedral Square. We continue this right here. Last arch, El Arco de los Blancos. So we have covered the entire surface of the ancient medieval city now. We said it was a tiny city, much smaller compared to the Phoenician city. Theater, a testimony of Cadiz, the Roman city, built in the 1st century before Christ, and then discovered by pure chance in the 70s, so not that long ago. Yes, it was intended to be one of the biggest Roman theaters in have Cortadura, where the isthmus is, where you don't see the buildings because there are sand dunes there. The highest building in town, that is the Telephone Tower. Where you are standing, these are the original walls, but not of the medieval times. These are of the 18th century original walls that you can see on the left and on the right, wrapping the entire city center. And then on this side, they are united to the gate, Puertas de Tierras. They are made with the local rock, Piedra Ocionera. The part on my right. Built there instead. If you look at it now, though, it doesn't look any Gothic. In 1596, we mentioned that Anglo-Dutch attack and a fleet of 155 ships completely destroyed the city, sacked the city, burned down that Gothic cathedral, which was rebuilt, but now in this very simple style. Mannerist style is called. Very simple, and actually suffering because of the proximity to the Atlantic Ocean. That was not the right material. Inside is a true gem because it's decorated in Baroque style. From the outside, very simple. Now, in the 18th century, Cadiz got the monopoly of the successful trading with the Americas, becoming Cadiz and its port the most important port of the entire country. That was the moment when they asked themselves the question, do we have a cathedral that represents the new house? The answer was no, and they took on a new ambitious project. 116 years, that is what it took to build the new cathedral. The Holy Cross Cathedral and the Holy Cross on the Water Cathedral, to remind us that only one street where we are now, Campo del Sur, separates the cathedral from the Atlantic Ocean. Look at that yellow dome, which is something peculiar for a Christian, a Catholic cathedral. A color that is very similar to gold. A way of symbolizing the power of the city in the 18th century, a color that was very easy to spot when approaching Cadiz by sea, with the sun reflecting on those yellow tiles.
Look at the roots on that tree.
Because all these jacaranda, and they put on a show. They put on a show during the month of April and made the entire square becomes color purple, whether you look up or down as the petals, the purple petals fall onto the ground. It is really a great moment when to visit maybe Cadiz one more time.